The comprehension of this wild woman nature is not a religion but a practice. It is a psychology in the truest sense. Psyche, soul, ology, or logos, a knowing of the soul. Without her, women are without ears to hear of her soul talk, to register the chiming of their own inner rhythms. Without her, women's inner eyes are closed by some shadowy hand, and large parts of their days are spent in a semi-paralyzing ennui or else wishful thinking. Without her, women lose the sureness of their soul footing. Without her, they forget why they're here. They hold on when they would best hold out. Without her, they take too much or too little or nothing at all. Without her, they are silent when they are in fact on fire. She is their regulator. She is their soulful heart, the same as the human heart that regulates the physical body. When we lose touch with the instinctive psyche, we live in a semi-destroyed state, and images of powers that are natural to the feminine are not allowed full development. When a woman is cut away from her basic source, she is sanitized, and her instincts and natural life cycles are lost, subsumed by the culture or by the intellect or the ego, one's own or those belonging to others. Wild woman is the health of all women. Without her, a woman's psychology makes no sense. This wilder woman is the prototypical woman. No matter what culture, no matter what era, no matter what politics, she does not change. Her cycles change, her symbolic representations change, but in essence, she does not change. She is what she is, and she is whole. She canalizes through women. If they are suppressed, she struggles upward. If women are free, she is free. Fortunately, no matter how many times she is pushed down, she bounds up again. No matter how many times she is forbidden, quelled, cut back, diluted, tortured, touted as unsafe, dangerous, mad, and other derogations, she emanates upward in women, so that even the most quiet, even the most restrained woman keeps a secret place for her. Even the most repressed woman has a secret life, with secret thoughts and secret feelings which are lush and wild, that is natural. Even the most captured woman guards the place of her wildish self, for she knows intuitively that someday there will be a loophole, an aperture, a chance, and she will hightail it to escape. I believe that all women and men are born gifted. However, and truly, there has been little to describe the psychological lives and ways of gifted women, talented women, creative women. There is, on the other hand, much writ about the weakness and foibles of humans in general and women in particular. But in the case of the wild woman archetype, in order to fathom her, apprehend her, utilize her offerings, we must be more interested in the thoughts, feelings, and endeavors which strengthen women, and adequately count the interior and cultural factors which weaken women. In general, when we understand the wildish nature as being in its own right, one which animates and informs a woman's deepest life, then we can begin to develop in ways never thought possible. A psychology which fails to address this innate spiritual being at the center of feminine psychology fails women, and fails their daughters and their daughters' daughters far into all future matrilineal lines. So in order to apply a good medicine to the hurt parts of the wildish psyche, in order to a right relationship to the archetype of the wild woman, one has to name the disarrays of the psyche accurately. While in my clinical profession we do have good diagnostic statistical manual and a goodly amount of differential diagnoses, as well as psychoanalytic parameters which define psychopathy through the organization, or lack of it, in the objective psyche and the self-ego axis, there are yet other defining behaviors and feelings which from a woman's frame of reference powerfully describe what is the matter. What are some of the feeling tone symptoms of a disrupted relationship with a wildish force in the psyche? To chronically feel, think, or act in any of the following ways is to have partially severed or lost entirely the relationship with a deep instinctual psyche. Using women's language exclusively, these are feeling extraordinarily dry, fatigued, frail, depressed, confused, gagged, muzzled, unaroused. Feeling frightened, halt, or weak, without inspiration, without animation, without soulfulness, without meaning. Shame-bearing, chronically fuming, volatile, stuck, uncreative, compressed, crazed. Feeling powerless, chronically doubtful, shaky, blocked, unable to follow through, giving one's creative life over to others, life-sapping choices in mates, work, or friendships, suffering to live outside one's own cycles, overprotective of self, inert, uncertain, faltering, instability to pace oneself or set limits. Not insistent on one's own tempo, to be self-conscious, to be away from one's god or gods, to be separated from one's revivification, drawn far into domesticity, intellectualism, work, or inertia, because that is the safest place for one who has lost her instincts. To fear to venture by oneself or to reveal oneself, fear to seek mentor, mother, father, fear to set out one's imperfect work before it is an opus, fear to set out on a journey, fear of caring for another or others, fear one will run on, run out, run down, cringing before authority, loss of energy before creative projects, wincing, humiliation, angst, numbness, anxiety. Afraid to bite back when there is nothing left to do, afraid to try the new, fear to stand up, afraid to speak up, speak against, sick stomach, butterflies, sour stomach, cut in the middle, strangled, becoming conciliatory or nice too easily, revenge. Afraid to stop, afraid to act, repeatedly counting to 3 and not beginning, superiority complex, ambivalence, and yet otherwise fully capable, fully functioning. These severances are a disease, not of an era or a century, but become an epidemic anywhere and any time women are captured, any time the wildish nature has become entrapped. A healthy woman is much like a wolf, robust, chock-full, strong life force, life-giving, territorially aware, inventive, loyal, roving. Yet, separation from the wildish nature causes a woman's personality to become meager, thin, ghostly, and spectral. We are not meant to be puny, with frail hair and inability to leap up, inability to chase, to birth, to create life. When women's lives are in stasis or created with ennui, it is always time for the wildish woman to emerge. It is time for the creating function of the psyche to flood the delta. How does a wild woman affect women? With her as an ally, as a leader, a model, a teacher, we see not through 2 eyes, but through the eyes of intuition, which is many-eyed. When we assert intuition, we are therefore like the starry night. We gaze at the world through 1,000 eyes. The wild nature carries the bundles for healing. She carries everything a woman needs to be and know. She carries the medicine for all things. She carries stories and dreams and words and songs and signs and symbols. She is both vehicle and destination. To adjoin the instinctual nature does not mean to come undone, to change everything from left to right, from black to white, to move the east to west, to act crazy or out of control. It does not mean to lose one's primary socializations or to become less human. It means quite the opposite. The wild nature has a vast integrity to it. It means to establish territory, to find one's pack, to be in one's body with certainty and pride regardless of the body's gifts and limitations, to speak and act in one's behalf, to be aware, alert, to draw on the innate feminine powers of intuition and sensing, to come into one's cycles, to find what one belongs to rise with dignity, to retain as much consciousness as possible. The archetype of the wild woman and all that stands behind her is patroness to all painters, writers, sculptors, dancers, thinkers, prayer makers, seekers, finders. For they are all busy with the work of invention, and that is the instinctive nature's main occupation. As in all art, she resides in the guts, not in the head. She can track and run and summon and repel. She can sense, camouflage, and love deeply. She is intuitive, typical, and normative. She is utterly essential to women's mental and soul health. So what compromises the wild woman? From the viewpoint of archetypal psychology, as well as in ancient traditions, she is the female soul. Yet, she is more. She is the source of the feminine. She is all that is of instinct of the worlds, both seen and hidden. She is the basis. We receive from her a glowing cell which contains all the instincts and knowings needed for our lives. She is the life-death force. She is the incubator. She is intuition. She is far-seer. She is deep listener. She is loyal heart. She encourages humans to remain multilingual, fluent in the languages of dreams, passion, and poetry. She whispers from night dreams. She leaves behind on the terrain of woman's soul a coarse hair and muddy footprints. These fill women with longing to find her, free her, and love her. She is ideas, feelings, urges, and memory. She has been lost and half forgotten for a long, long time. She is the source, the light, the night, the dark, and the daybreak. She is the smell of good mud and the back leg of the fox. The birds which tell us secrets belong to her. She is the voice that says, this way, this way. She is the one who thunders after injustice. She is the one who turns like a great wheel. She is the maker of cycles. She is the one we leave home to look for. She is the one we come home to. She is the things that keep us going when we think we are done for. She is the incubator of raw little ideas and deals. She is the mind which thinks us. We are the thoughts that she thinks. Where is she present? Where can you feel her? Where can you find her? She walks the deserts, woods, oceans, cities, in the barrios and in castles. She lives among queens, among campesinas, in the boardroom, in the factory, in the prison, in the mountains of solitude. She lives in the ghetto, at the university, and in the streets. She leaves footprints for us to try for size. She leaves footprints wherever there is one woman who is fertile soil. Where does she live? At the bottom of the well, in her headwaters, in the ether before time. She lives in the tear and in the ocean. She lives in the cambia of trees, which pings as it grows. She is from the future and from the beginning of time. She lives in the past and is summoned by us. She is in the present and keeps a chair at our table, stands behind us in line, and drives ahead of us on the road. She is in the future and walks behind in time to find us now. She lives in the green poking through snow. She lives in rustling stalks of dying autumn corn. She lives where the dead come to be kissed and the living send their prayers. She lives in the place where language is made. She lives on poetry and percussion and singing. She lives on quarter notes and grace notes and in canta and in centina and in sestina and in the blues. She is in the moment just before inspiration bursts upon us. She lives in a faraway place that breaks through to our world. People may ask for evidence, for proof of her existence. They are essentially asking for proof of the psyche. Since we are the psyche, we are also the evidence. Each and every one of us is the evidence of not only Wild Woman's existence, but of her condition in the collective. We are the proof of this ineffable female Newman. Our existence parallels hers. Our experiences of her within and without are the proofs. Our thousands and millions of encounters with her intraphysically, through our night dreams and our day thoughts, through our yearnings and inspirations, these are the verifications. The fact that we are bereft in her absence, that we long and yearn when we are separated from her, these are manifestations that she has passed this way. My doctorate is in ethno-clinical psychology, which is the study of both clinical psychology and ethnology, the latter emphasizing the study of the psychology of groups and tribes in particular. My postdoctoral diploma is in analytical psychology, which is what certifies me as a Jungian psychoanalyst. My life experience as cantadora, mezzomondo, poet, and artist informs my work with analysands equally. Sometimes I am asked to tell what I do in my consulting room to help women return to their wildish natures. I place substantial emphasis on clinical and developmental psychology, and I use the simplest and most accessible ingredient for healing: stories. We follow the patient's dream material, which contains many plots and stories. The analysand's physical sensations and body memories are also stories which can be read and rendered into consciousness. Additionally, I teach a form of powerful interactive trancing that is proximate to Jung's active imagination, and this also produces stories which further elucidate the client's psychic journey. We elicit the wildish self through specific questions and through examining tales, legends, and mythos. Most times we are able over time to find the guiding myth or fairy tale that contains all the instruction a woman needs for her current psychic development. These stories comprise a woman's soul drama. It is like a play with stage instructions, characterization, and props. The craft of making is an important part of the work I do. I seek to empower my clients by teaching them the age-old crafts of the hands, among the symbolic arts of the talisman making, las ofrendas and retablos, these being anything from simple ribbon sticks to elaborate sculpture. Art is important for it commemorates the seasons of the soul, or a special or tragic event in the soul's journey. Art is not just for oneself, not just a marker of one's own understanding. It is also a map for those who follow after us. As you might imagine, work with each person is customized in the extreme, for it is true that people are made one to a kind. But these factors remain constant in my work with people, and these are the fundament for all humans' work before them today. My own work, as well as yours. The craft of questions, the craft of stories, the craft of hands. All these are the making of something, and that something is soul. Any time we feed soul, it guarantees increase. I hope that you will see that these are tangible ways to soften old scar tissue, balm old wounds, and envision anew, thereby restoring the old skills that make the soul visible and down-to-earth ways. The tales I bring here to elucidate the instinctual nature of women are in some cases original stories, in other cases are distinct literary renderings that I have written based on those peculiar ones given into my keeping by my tias and tios, abuelitas and abuelos, omas and opas, and the old ones of my family. Those whose oral traditions have been unbroken for as far back as we can remember. A few are written documents of my own first-hand encounters, some from long time passing, and all from the heart. They are presented in all faithful detail and archetypal integrity. It is with the permission and blessing of 3 living generations of familial healer-tellers who understand the subtleties and requirements of story as healing phenomena that I carry these forward. Additionally, here are some of the questions I pose to my adolescents and others to whom I offer counsel in order for them to remember themselves. I also detail for you some of the craft, the experiential and artful play that assists women in retaining the noument of their work in conscious memory. All these help to bring about convergence with the precious, wildish self.